Export sections to HEC-RAS will enable us to take river cross-section surveys and export them to the HEC-RAS file format. What we're looking at on screen are a series of individually surveyed river cross-sections. It's very often difficult to survey a cross-section in a perfectly straight line. So this exercise will perform two tasks. One will be to define the section positions and the alignment of those sections, and secondly it will snap those points onto that main alignment, which means that it doesn't matter that the points are not exactly in line with each other, because this particular export will take that into account. We'll begin by creating a section position file. We define our offsets left and right. Well, if we're going in this direction, our offset to the right just needs to be quite a small value to make sure it covers the first point on the section, and the left offset needs to be long enough to extend to the end of every section. Let's make that 25, and right needs to be a small value. We select Environment Agency Specification, and the method of location will be points request changes. We enter our first section title, and we now select the first point and the orientation of the section. Once we've defined this orientation, then we don't need to redefine it if every subsequent section is supposed to be at the same bearing. Otherwise we would select a bearing for every single section. And if this is going to snap points on a single section onto the same section, then we need to define the section corridor width, which is the width of that section line. As long as that value is less than the distance between the two sets of sections, then it can be whatever value you like. Create the next reference line, reach 2. As before, if we keep the same bearing, we don't need to redefine that. New reference line, reach 3. We do want to change the bearing. New reference line, reach 4. And so on. End and save. We're now going to over display that section position file, but make sure that you show the HEC-RAS corridors. And there we see the 4 sections that we have created. Export, sections, HEC-RAS. We enter the name, and you don't need to worry about the .geo file extension because that will be added by LSS. We choose our section position file, and when it comes to calculating the position of the points in the section, we can either use the triangulation that LSS will have created between these points, or if the points were widely spaced there may not be triangulation, in which case we would select the option to take the observation level and to use that level for the level on the section rather than relying on the triangulation. We can enter the stream ID, we confirm the default corridor width, and we can also get all sections to use the default corridor. The reason why you might want different corridor widths is that we're at different distances from each other and you needed to define different corridor widths for each individual section. OK has now created the file, and if we select Edit, we can then see the contents of that HEC RAS file.